Welcome to the patient registration instruction video. I'm Wendy Mitchell, and I'll be your patient registration lead. The patient registration volunteers are of keynote importance to the patient experience. We are literally the first impression. We need to keep in mind that the patients may have been up all night in line, they may be frightened, apprehensive. When we are calm and helpful and competent, we begin their visit on the right foot. Most volunteers need to arrive at 4:30 a.m. A few of them need to arrive earlier than that, and you'll know who you are. This is very important because if we are not on time, the whole clinic will not be on time. This gives the unfortunate potential to put 1,000 patients in one day behind schedule. When we arrive, the greeters will already have put a wristband with their line number and a name tag, and they will be informed that they can only have their most important problem area treated. The patients will then be ushered into the patient registration seating area by a volunteer and asked to fill out a waiver. The waiver forms are available in Spanish and in English, and there will be translators available for any other languages that are needed. Make sure the patient understands the form they are signing. Patient guests or non-patients must also sign a non-patient waiver. Volunteers will then direct the patients into the registration deck. Children 12 and under and one guardian will be escorted directly to the kids' registration area. The remaining patients will then be directed to an open computer station where their information will be recorded. Now our software developer will instruct you on the use of the system.
Hello and welcome to the Mission of Mercy Clinic Management Software Check-in Training video. This video will walk you through the steps required to register a patient at the beginning of the clinic. First, let's take a bird's eye view of the clinic and see how your role fits into the big picture. Patients first enter the clinic at patient registration. At this point, all of their information is recorded and they are assigned a chart number and given a patient chart. Next, they visit medical and dental triage where doctors determine what care is best suited for the patient. Once that is determined, they pass through the routing desk where they are either sent to radiology or directly to a treatment area. Lastly, once all the work has been performed, they will visit their treatment area's checkout station where we track all work that was performed. This video will focus on the first step in that process, check-in. Checking in is the first step for any patient visiting a Mission of Mercy clinic. At registration, you will record the patient's identifying information, including name, date of birth, and gender, as well as a few survey questions. Once all of this information has been collected, their chart will be printed and they will be sent to the clinic for triage and eventually treatment. So now, let's jump right in and see how easy it is to check in a patient. Before the patient gets to you, they should have been given a waiver. Before you begin to check them in, first make sure that they've handed you a signed waiver and don't have any questions. Patients under the age of 18 need a legal guardian to fill out a waiver for them. Once that is complete, click the big green Yes button and you'll be permitted to begin registering the patient. This part is fairly straightforward. Work your way down the form, asking the patient for each piece of information. Don't be afraid to ask them for clarification. For example, if you don't know how to spell their name or didn't understand one of their questions. The clinic can get loud at times, and it's very important that we get their information right. If the patient knows their zip code, type it in. The city and state should automatically be populated. If it isn't, just type it manually. There are several options for the Reason for Today's Visit select box, but it's possible the patient is looking for something that isn't listed. Just try and find the best fit. Let the patient know that when they move on to triage, the doctor will discuss their best treatment options. If the patient is in pain, click Yes. A text field will appear asking how long they've been in pain. This input is flexible, so you can enter 1 month, or you can use shorthand and type 1M for the same result. In this case, I'm going to enter 2 years. Next, ask the patient how long it took them to get to the clinic from where they live. If the patient has attended a previous Mission of Mercy clinic in your state, click yes and then check which clinics they have attended. Once all of this information is complete, click the Next button to continue. At this point, the patient's chart will begin printing. While that's happening, ask the patient the last few survey questions listed on the screen. Once complete, click Check-in. Congratulations, you have just successfully checked in your first patient. The patient's chart should now be finished printing. If another volunteer hasn't brought it to you already, pull it from the nearby printer and put it with the patient's waiver. You will most likely have a few other steps to do before sending the patient off to the next area. Someone will go over these steps the morning of the clinic. Once all of these steps are complete and you've sent the patient into the clinic, click Check in Next Patient and repeat the process. If at any time you run into problems and need help, just click the Need Help icon at the top left of the screen. This will let someone know that you're looking for help and they should be there momentarily. Once the person is done helping you, or you've solved the problem on your own, just click the black X at the top right next to Click here to cancel your request. So what happens when the patient's chart never prints or is lost in the shuffle? You can easily reprint a patient's chart by clicking the Reprint Chart tab at the top of the screen. From here, simply enter the patient's chart number, click Search, and then click the blue Reprint button next to their name. Another common occurrence you might encounter are patients re-entering the clinic for additional treatment. When this happens, click the Previous Patient tab at the top of the screen. From here, either search for the patient's name or prior chart number. Once you've found them, click Check In and follow the same steps we did before. The patient will be assigned a new chart number and they will not be asked to answer the survey questions again. Now, let's dive into a few of the system's advanced features that should make registering patients even easier. It's not uncommon to have an entire family visit the clinic for treatment. Entering the same contact information 4 or 5 times can be tedious and time-consuming. To solve this, we've added a little feature called Same as Previous Patient. First, fully check in any member of the family, and for the remaining family members, click Same as Previous Patient, right above the contact information fields. Voila! Now all of the contact information is loaded. Several select options have the ability to specify a value not in the provided list. For example, for the survey question, How did you hear about the clinic?, you can select Other and manually type in the patient's answer. It's very important for reporting purposes you try to be as consistent and general as possible with these answers. For example, if a patient responds they heard about the clinic through St. Paul's Church, you should type in Church and not St. Paul's. Lastly, you can use the Tab key on your keyboard to move on to the next field. This should save you time and make it easier to fill out the form. That wraps up this brief introduction to the registration process for Mission of Mercy clinics. You'll have more help during the day of the clinic, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry, the system is really easy to use. Thanks so much for volunteering, and we'll see you at the clinic.
As you can see, the computer will then print their information here, and their patient registration number will be on the top right here. Write this number on a new wristband. Make sure the wristband number matches this number. Place the new wristband on the patient's wrist securely so that it cannot be removed. The old pre-printed wristband should now be removed. Place the registration form and a waiver form in a manila folder. Hand the folder to a patient ambassador who will escort the patient to the next station. Patients will not be allowed to walk around. We'll always have a patient ambassador with them. Now, any family member not seeking treatment will be escorted to the family waiting area. Child care will be available for children not seeking treatment. The parent and child will be escorted to child care before treatment and after registration. Please remember, the patients are our guests today. We want to help them however we can. Please treat everyone with kindness and patience. We want everyone, both patients and volunteers, to leave with a positive experience. Thank you so much for volunteering.